Hello, everyone. Coach Sullivan here again. Quick background: this is my 38th year coaching football, and I've been either a defensive, offensive, or a special teams coordinator, as well as a head coach at both the collegiate and high school levels. Today, I'd like to talk to you about our match quarters coverage versus the two-man route concept we call Ohio. Okay? We call it Ohio because two O's, right, signifies that we have a double out in this concept. Alrighty. So again, I have it drawn up mirrored on both sides because we teach it that way to both sides because it could in fact happen on both sides. Okay. So this is also what you might call a levels concept. Okay. Typically in Ohio, the deepest out, which is run by number two, okay, is 10 yards or deeper. So this necessitates a quarterback with a very strong arm to be able to make the throw. That is why it can be a drop back, because it says over here it's either straight drop back or it's usually, unless we're talking Alabama level football, it's going to be a sprint out or a half roll concept to cut down on the amount of field, right? So that's at 10 or more, and we usually say it's between 10 or 15. And the out route by number one is anywhere from 5 to 10, again, depending on how deep number two is. And that's taken care of ahead of time by the offense. Okay? So, how we defend it, it starts off with, right, surface to two. Two's vertical. So, again, the first thing that's going through the mind of our corner, field, or boundary both, is they're thinking Florida. So they're thinking the sink under two, the corner route of two. This is where we got to make sure that safeties make our Ohio call. Ohio. Even if number one doesn't necessarily run an out route, the Ohio tells the corner to sink underneath the deep out of two. Remember, the entire premise of our match quarters is we're always going to match. If you got four verts, we got four defenders on top of those verts. If you got three, we got three. You got two, we got two. It also means we're going to force you to throw to the shortest route in the concept, which in Ohio is the out route of number one. Okay? So just before anybody thinks, oh my God, you're putting the kid in a quandary. Oh, what's he do? He's going to be unsure. No, not at all. All right, we want the corner to sink under two first, and then we can rally up to one. All right. So that's where the call from the safety comes in. Got to make the Ohio call. Otherwise, you're probably not going to get a sink because to the corner, they're going to think it's Oklahoma switch because two is vertical, right? So that's where the safety comes. Communication. As we always say, look, we're not having you talk just to say things so we sound like, we know what we're doing. Everything we say has a purpose. So when the safety communicates to the corner, it's Ohio, then he's going to get help from the corner. Okay? I'm hoping this makes sense. Otherwise, the corner is going to match number one, the outer one. That's to be expected. So the big coaching point in this lecture is the communication by the safeties to scream Ohio. I don't have to put it on this PowerPoint slide here or the huddle slide in order to emphasize that. Okay, it's man over 10, which means you're going to be on top with dominant vertical leverage on the upfield shoulder, but you've got to be screaming Ohio to get the help from the corner. All right? Now, when the safety screams Ohio, he's not just screaming, and it's got to be screamed. That's the other thing. We always talk about that. Don't keep it a secret. Ohio. That doesn't work. You got to scream it. You expect the fans to be loud. You can't expect the corner to hear you, let alone the outside linebacker or anybody. I always say I should hear you with my headset on if you do this right, okay? Because when you scream Ohio to the corner, you're also screaming it to the outside linebacker who now will cut the outer number one. To answer that question. So if the running back were running a pattern, whether it's an out route, a shoot route, which isn't going to be likely, The shoot route, maybe, because it'd be on the line of scrimmage to give us 3 levels. But in this concept, that's not as likely. If anything, maybe the running back would do a flare release as a check down. Well, that can be covered by the inside linebacker, right? Because running back 2, that's his rule, because 2's not to him. So the Ohio call signifies to the corner to sink underneath and to the outside linebacker to cut the out of 1. If the throw is late, you got to pick 6. Even if the throw is not late, there's a chance if the quarterback can see the outside linebacker, right, working to cut underneath, you force a higher throw and it's out of bounds, incomplete. All righty? So that's how we defend Ohio, and the significant coaching point, once again, is coming from the safeties, both the whip and the free. I know I've spent a lot of time focused over here. It's mirrored and it's identical coaching points for the boundary side, which in this case is always the whip and the boundary, but also this case it's the rover. Okay? So again, this is usually a sprint out or a half roll. So in another lecture, but I'll tell you now how we would handle the sprint out. Excuse me, we just make a bomber call, bomber, if this was in fact a full sprint. And that means our inside linebacker is supposed to pull up the sprint out to take care of that. Bomber. Inside linebacker, pull it up. That allows these guys to play their pass coverage, match quarters. Okay, to answer that question. So as usual, if you have any questions, speaking of, please email me at coachmjsullivan@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you, and as always, have a great day.